everyone. Welcome to the 8th episode of Back at the Ranch. I am your host, Danny Knaub, here with our latest explorer who's been voted out. Tom, how are you?
I've been better, Danny. I've had better days, but I'm glad to be here with you and have this chat, let some stuff off my chest.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough game. Obviously, I know you have a lot you want to talk about and share. Everyone goes through a lot of emotions playing this, especially when you're voted out. So, here to talk it through with you. But before we really get into too much game, I really want to kind of go back to the beginning. And first and foremost, what were you like? How excited were you when you found out you were going to be a part of the first season of Expedition Online?
I was really excited. I sent in the video and I, did all that to get to it. But when I found out, it was kind of surreal because, you want to, if you apply for something and you put the work and the time and the creativity, I think that's necessary to be interesting enough to be considered. It's nice that it pays off and it's like, wow, oh my goodness, I'm going to be on this, whatever this is. I'm not even really sure what it is, but I'm going to be on. And, I had some encouragement from my wife, but also some of my colleagues that I showed the video to. And they're so great. They were encouraging to me. They're like, if you don't get picked after that video, then there's something wrong. Like, I can't imagine, because I had just that one kind of creative moment to think of the whole t-shirt thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just kind of worked. And I was just really, really excited about it. I didn't really know what it exactly was going to be, if it was going to have the structure of it. I've never done anything like that before, but, I was really excited about the opportunity, the experience that I knew, at least I could conjure in my mind that would be ahead of me.
For sure. And so obviously we're all Survivor fans. So you have the Survivor gods, you have Boston Rob, you have Tyson, hand-picking their parties. So when you're picked by Tyson, like how exciting is that? And also just once you saw your full party, what were your first thoughts about your party as a whole?
Well, for me, the whole goal was to get picked first. I wanted I just wanted their approval. That's all I cared about. I thought to myself, like you said, like, this is amazing. I love those guys. Boston Rob is my guy. Tyson is great. And then they're going to actually watch something that I created and then make some decision about whether they want me on their team. Like, that was crazy. And, the fact that Tyson picked me first was extremely validating. Clearly, like I said, when I went out, clearly I was more interesting than the rest of the group. That's for sure. And then the fact that Rob picked Bobby, but then also went back and said, if you hadn't picked Tom, I was going to take Tom. What else could you want, folks? That's
no one can take that
to
away
get both of those guys. Say again?
I said no one can take that away from you. That's a cool thing for sure.
Yeah, that's how cool is that? It's great. That was extremely validating, and that was kind of my approach going into it. And when I met everyone, I knew we had an interesting group. I had a feeling about Rachel just being in New York. I had a feeling that her and I could connect. I had a feeling that, I have a good ability to build relationships with people. Like, that's what I care about. And that's something that I do in my real life. And that's something that I value more than anything, is relationships. And I thought that in time I could do that with these people. And, very quickly, I thought I was able to at least try to establish that while also trying to balance, like, who am I? How much of Tom are they going to see? And because all they had to go off of was, the video that they saw of Rob and Tyson both wanting me to first. And then they're like, oh, we just put a target on Tom. And I was like, son of a bitch. Like, come on, guys. You put me behind the 8 ball already. But no, at that point, it seemed like a good group of people. Definitely some good people for sure.
Yeah. Well, I was actually going to ask that because I know obviously it's very exciting to you to have been chosen first, to have both of them sort of say that they wanted to pick you first. But then again, like, that does put a huge target. So is there a part of you that's like kicking them a little bit, being like, or were you at that point being like, well, then if I'm going to be very visible in the spotlight, then I'm just going to kind of come out and be that person?
I think it was both. I think it was at first, I'm sitting here, I'm watching, they both, they picked me and I'm just like, wow, that was great. And then in the next breath, like, God, you guys just put a target on me and that sucks. Because I knew, everybody's going to be taking notes off of that. Because if everybody signed up and cared enough to be in this, they're going to be in this, So I knew that would stand out and probably come back to bite me at some point. But it kind of reinforced for me to be me, to go into the tribe or the party and build relationships and be Tom and sing or dance or MC or do all the things that I do anyway, and just kind of pretend like I knew these people for more than a day or a couple of hours, and that's hard. That's a hard thing to do. That's a hard thing for me to do. Whether it's my job or actually meeting new people or whatever other social circumstance in my life, I don't always just go right into full-fledged cruise director Tom. And I felt like I was trying to be that because that's who I am, And I think that this opportunity allows you to do that, but if I'm not myself, I don't get on the show.
Totally.
But if I'm not myself, then I don't have the target. So it's
totally,
I don't know.
I mean,
somewhere it's both.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what makes this game difficult, because you can try to play it a very specific way and it could work. But if I tried to play that exact same way, it may end up in a disaster. So there's a lot of chance, there's a lot of luck, there's a lot of skill, there's a lot that goes in. And I always say, as I'm doing these interviews with everybody, especially those that are frustrated or upset that they went home earlier than they wanted to, it's like, this is a hard game and it really depends on a lot. And it could be as simple as like, you didn't show up to the Zoom the first night, or like, I didn't like the way you said this sentence the other day. Like, it's so specific, but also random at the same time. So, it's a lot, and I'm very curious to kind of get into it. So you, though, are part of Team Tyson. And so you all frankly just decimated the other team. You did not have to go to a crossroads up until the swap, in which it was a double crossroad. So just fill me in on those days, because the audience really didn't get a chance to get to know any of you because we never saw you. I mean, I did because I was a mod, but like anybody at home, frankly, didn't get a chance to meet you all until the swap. So take me through those first few days. Who were you vibing with? Who were you aligned with? What was the dynamics within the tribe?
So the first, and if I don't remember correctly, forgive me, but I think the first few days, it was basically all 9 of us just hanging out, right? The only difference was, I knew from the beginning, I knew this too. Like, I knew that some people were going to get on right away and some people were not going to be able to do that. And I thought, okay, some people that are really going to try to play the game are going to try to get on right away. And so, my job allowed me to do that, just given the hours. And so in those first few days, I was trying to get on early so that I could at least hear the conversations until everyone got involved.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, the first night we did that until everybody got in there, then we win the challenge and everybody just kind of hung out until the end. And that was it. You know, and the only person that gets brought up is the person who wasn't on there or something. Was it Andrea?
Yeah.
Right. Somebody brought her up, you know, and the only other thing that happened really in the first few days was that Docs lied about getting headphones.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And so I thought immediately, I said, okay, I'm not really sure exactly how I'm going to play the game because I didn't have some grand strategy kind of drawn up on a whiteboard or something. But I kind of said to myself that I'm either going to go all the way or I'm going to be out early because I think I know myself enough. You know, as I said in my video, like I'm the villain at game night because I want to win. I want to do well. And I know that line stuck in people's heads. And that kind of, I knew that would either lead to my demise or it would propel me to eternal greatness, whatever. But in the first few days, I thought to myself, okay, I'm 32 years old. I'm a teacher. Be honest with people. No reason not to. I thought to myself, be somebody people want to be around because that's who you are. And lead with that message. Like, who do you want to be around? I don't think that was such a horrendous strategy as far as like a social game. And it seemed like people, you know, were really cool in the beginning. And that's, I guess, byproduct of the beginning or the fact that we won. But when Docs lied about the headphones, to me, it was the perfect thing to just immediately target someone and say, that guy lied immediately. Let me just try to take the focus off me in any way I could and just put that idea out there. And there was even a time like I had my camera off and it was the beginning of a day. I think it was the second day. And there was Qua and Taryn and Alex and myself and Docs. And Docs got up to like do something, maybe change his shirt for the challenge. And I just popped on quick and I had like Docs is a liar on the board. I just popped the camera on quick and I just threw that up there and then turned my camera off as a way of just trying to be like, hey, just reminding everybody, I didn't get to talk to everyone individually because we weren't at that stage yet. And I just tried again to like implant a seed of, okay, if we lose, this guy is definitely going to be targeted.
Yeah.
And it was as simple as that. Because I mean, I haven't seen all of Survivor. I'm not as gung-ho as some of these other people are. I'm trying to get there. I love the show. I just haven't, I'm late to the game, as they say. But I just knew that there was that one thing that he did to lie to people, and it was something that could be used at least in the early stages as a way to keep the attention off of me when it comes to getting rid of somebody.
Yeah.
But what happens is that, you know, when you're in the beginning, if you win, everybody wants to keep that going and keep this, you know, nobody wants to make the first move to like the lean-to.
Yeah.
And so then after the second time we won, I made the move. I went into there.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, this is going to happen eventually. Like I actually genuinely want to get to know people.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. That's what I was talking to them about, you know, whether it was Rachel or Alex or whoever jumped in there with me. I really just wanted to get to know people. I wanted to actually build relationships. You know, I watched season 39. I had never seen it. I watched it leading up to this experience. And I listened to what they said on the Island of the Idols. And I thought to myself, like, those are some important lessons that I should use. You know, and one of them was build relationships and show that you care about people. And I tried to do that. And I think I did do that. But again, in those early days, it was almost like because we were winning, nobody felt the need to really draw a line in the sand. It was almost like there was no need to.
Yeah.
And then once I started going into the lean-to, and they called it the lean Tom, ha ha ha, like it just kind of grew into like, oh, I got to go see for myself. And what people really were feeling was that, okay, it's socially acceptable to now not just be hunky dory in a group of 9 till midnight.
Yeah.
People like thanked me for that. Like they're like legitimately happy that
Well,
it was socially acceptable to not talk as a whole group.
for sure. I mean, and that's the thing too, is that that's a good strategy. You just never lost. And so, I feel
Yeah.
like you had the, Docs is a liar and you lost that day. That could have been a strategy that would have worked to get him out. The problem is that you guys just kept winning. So, I think that those that sort of were not hitting accelerate, hitting the gas pedal, were able to kind of stay back a little bit where you were really in the forefront. But yeah, but I agree. I mean, it's definitely, it takes somebody to rip the Band-Aid off. And I remember being a mod in those conversations where everyone's doing the like, oh, what is this lean-to? And oh, what are these other rooms? And it's because like everyone was afraid to go, And I get it because it puts a target on you. I mean, it's a hard thing. Like it either can work or it can sort of add to your demise a little bit. But so, you're obviously making relationships. So before we get into the swap, who do you feel good with? Like, do you have a solid 3? Do you have a 4? Like, or like, what was your feeling before we got into the swap?
Well, before we got into the swap, I felt like Docs was trying to run the game on our side, and I felt like I was trying to push back against him.
Mhm.
I guess we're the older guys in the tribe, whatever it may be, whatever the psychoanalyst would make it out to be. At the end of the day, like I targeted him, and I thought, okay, this guy is the first ejector seat. Like boom, his button will go first.
Bye.
Yeah, and then I knew that Kimmy, I knew that Alex wouldn't initially vibe with him because they're 22-year-old girls. They're not, I had those girls in class. Like I coached those girls. I know those girls, right? But the first person that I really vibed with was Rachel. Rachel lurked stood back in the one room before we went to an exemption challenge like I did. And I was hoping that she would stay there. And when we both kind of hung out there, it was just like, Rachel. And she was like, you want to be in an alliance? Yeah. Like, so we kind of like innately knew to kind of hang back and make that connection. And that was before the lean-to really started. Right. And then from there, she reached out to like Alex kind of in a similar way. And then I knew Taryn. I wanted to work with Taryn because I just thought, here's a girl who's 26. She's on this thing. She hangs out with grandma. She's got her grandmother's dog. Like she's got a good heart, and she'll be, a good person to play the game and have on your side. And at that point, it was who else was there? Then there was Kimmy. Kimmy became like kind of the 5 that, these are our 5 kind of thing. And it was in part because Jordan was never on.
Yeah.
Andrea was just she is the sweetest person in the world. It was almost like, all right, too much. She's too nice. And she was kind of targeted by everybody because she wasn't on or she sat out of the challenges. And it seemed like she was almost too easy of a person to get rid of, or I don't know what. And then there was Quan Docs. And quickly I knew like Quan just doesn't have the social skills that the rest of us do. He doesn't quite, he's a computer kid. He's that kid. And I know that kid also. I coach that kid also. I walk by that kid every day in my job. And I understand and I can get along with that kid and help that kid and relate to them as best I can, And then Docs was the older guy that I thought lied and boom, like I can just target and use that. And then as time went on, I realized, okay, I'm with the 4 girls. That's a little bit of a red flag. Qua had mentioned he was worried about a girls' alliance, but I knew I just at my core, I thought, okay, these girls are cool. I can, if we really played it out long term, I'm the one guy. They're all pretty similar. I probably could manipulate and talk my way out of being Eric from Micronesia, and not be the guy that has to just win every challenge in order to stay in the game. But I think what happened is that when you win, and we kept winning, like you said, we won the first 5 challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened is that we had, in the beginning, we were all together, and then I started the lean-to, and Rachel and I hung back and made that alliance, and then she locked up Alex, and then I talked to Kimmy, and it became the 5 of us. But over time, when you win 4 challenges in a row, you don't actually test the alliance. You don't actually test the relationships that you're building. You're just building them, or it's kind of like building a sandcastle out of dry sand. There's not much to hold it together. You can get a general shape, and you'll have a mountain that looks kind of like a sandcastle, but it's not going to be solid like if it's wet sand.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where it took off, and where I was vibing with and whatnot. And I think I was uniquely, I grew up in a small town. I coach sports. I work in a high school. I work with a diverse population of people. I have diverse experiences in my life. I seek out new experiences. I seek out change, and I'm not afraid of that and all those things. I think I was uniquely qualified to get along with and vibe with everyone. Kimmy's a Panthers fan. I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. Like, that did connect her and I. Alex is an athlete. I'm a coach. Rachel is from New York, or lives in New York. I live in New York, right? She lived in Limbrook. I grew up in a town right next to Limbrook.
Yeah.
Taryn is a good. I just, anybody can get along with Taryn.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, about this game is like, you can get along with everybody, but everyone is still playing a game, and so there's still that element of who, are you fully trusting of the people that you want to be trusting with, or are they slyly talking to other people on the side? And I get it though, which is very difficult. It's fascinating because I literally just talked to Sam, and he had a very opposite game because he was at Crossroads every day. So it's fascinating because I love the point that you had nothing to test it on. So you really spent a solid week just playing the game that you felt was working, because you were winning, and you were making good relationships, and you were having good conversations, and everybody was agreeing on everything. And what's crazy is that we get to the swap, and like, you still don't really have to test it because you're with 6. It's 6 of you and lone Brandon. So we have a double Crossroads. Brandon is also explosive with his dry erase board, making a scene. 2 compasses are flushed. But for you all, it was, I'm assuming, an easy decision to get out Brandon. Was there anything of that day that you remember of note that it may not have been Brandon, or was it just so easy? Because I remember being a mod that day too, and you all, frankly, found a group chat that he couldn't get into. So he was just sitting alone leading up to that Crossroads. So again, it felt like, unless I'm wrong, it felt like another day where you just couldn't really test anything, easy vote before we move on to the next day, when things really when it goes haywire for you.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And it's funny, you go into the tribe swap, and you're nervous. You don't know what's going to happen, and how could this play out, and what if I'm on this end, and how you start thinking of okay, well, when would we come together to be one party, and how long would that be, and whatever. And when you're us and what we had been through at that point, there was the 5 of us that were kind of together.
Yeah.
And we all got put on the new Team Rob.
It was literally the whole
Yeah.
group that had been working together was together again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And we had Jordan, which was perfect because he's never on. And I think I said to Rachel at that point, I said, we have the numbers. We're up 4 people. We have all of our people on this tribe. You figure there's going to be the merge or the rendezvous at either this time or within the next 2 challenges. Jordan was strong enough to win us that one. Yeah. Kimmy had the endurance with that other one to win that challenge. I kept coming in second or third. I was right there in all the other ones. The word puzzle one, I was money at. We had everything to keep that going.
Yeah.
But what happened then is that, again, you just don't have an opportunity to really test all of it. Because then we had to vote somebody off. And even then it was like, why are we voting someone off? We won. What is even going on here? Are they just trying to do this? Is this like, I remember writing out the calendar dates. I'm like, are they trying to, okay, they got to get to this many people by this date. I almost felt like, are they making this up? Is this, yeah, I don't know. I've planned
many meetings where like the calendar is set far in advance. The challenges are created far in advance. Because any videos with like Rob were all set like in advance. Like, so nothing's like flying at the seat of our pants. So it's very organized and we know when everything's going to happen type thing. So going into that, when we knew it was going to be a double crossroads, obviously that was a shock to you all for sure. So then the next challenge you have, so Jacob is safe. Kimmy wins sort of a chance to either keep money or she can make another person exempt. She chooses to just spin a wheel. So it is Doc's.
Well, she didn't really choose that. She didn't really choose that.
What do you mean?
She kind of just, that was her moment right there. That was her moment where she was either drawing a line or not.
Oh,
right. And I think if I had to make a guess, she really thought about, okay, if I give this immunity to somebody, then it'll make me look bad, but it would be better in my game, but I still have these other people that we're still part of. And I don't know. She just kind of, that I feel like was the moment where she kind of drew her line. But yes, go on.
Correct? Or drew, what do you mean by drew a line?
Well, Kimmy and Alex to me were the two that, Kimmy expressed it to me the day before that she wanted to play. I want to play. And I think I said it to her. I maybe said it to Alex or Rachel or somebody. I said, it's okay. Like, I understand that you want to play, but we have the numbers advantage. We're up 8-4. There's pretty much nothing that could happen that will prevent us from becoming the final, whatever number you want us to be.
Yeah.
I was like, don't be afraid of a boring game. Now that was probably my mistake because again, I'm not 22, right? I'm not unemployed. Like, like all these like different things that are going to affect people to want to make it more exciting. And I'm not as big a fan, or I haven't seen as many seasons as some other people. I think that kind of all that together in that moment when she's making that decision, like and that was the night Rachel got out, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you guys,
yes, like, right. Leading up to that, she clearly was bored. I don't know if she would admit that, but like she was pretty bored. Like she and Alex, huh?
You really, I mean, at that point you had one vote out and it was the easy Brandon because he was the low on the totem pole. So, I mean, I think I understand where you're going for. Like, I don't know if bored is the right word, but yeah, I mean, because here's the thing too, is that again, everybody has a different mentality in this game, which is what makes this game so fascinating. And so to someone like Alex saying like, I want to play, you also think like, moves have to happen. And look, whether it was the right time for her to do it, that's, we'll have to see like where she gets to. But, that's the game. It's like there's paranoia of like, are we going to be made fun of by the jury if we don't do anything? Do I need to make a move to set myself apart from this person? Do I need to, cut somebody here because it's going to make me look better? So there's a lot of paranoia that goes into it. And then obviously you have these other party mates that, are clearly low in the totem pole that are probably in their ears saying like, join us, or well, let's make a move, let's do something, which is kind of exciting. Yeah. So when do you, because I remember watching that Crossroads and felt very live. Obviously Rachel had a moment at the Crossroads, but at what point did you start to feel the tide going against you, and who do you think was leading that charge?
I think it was in the lead up. I want to say that Rachel and I were talking for maybe a little bit of time, trying to get just kind of get our not our boundaries, get ourselves together. And I felt like the minority people were making moves, and they were talking to the right people, and they struck the right chord when it came to, Kimmy or Alex or even maybe Taryn. I don't really know, but I just feel that was music, that was a symphony to their ears, because they wanted more than the easy way. Yeah. Right? Because the easy way is we won the first 5 challenges. We voted Brandon out. We have 6 people here. It's right here. Just vote. Okay, Oe's next. This person, this person, this person. And like, it's just not sexy. It's a very if that was the season of Survivor, people would look back and be like, that season sucked. And they don't, I think that versus the, Cagayan or whatever, where Tony's a maniac and he's wearing necklaces and he's, people are flipping left and right and whatnot. And I get it. That's all part of it. I just think that though, that night leading up to, I probably should have done a better job of not feeling so comfortable, I guess, and I don't know if that's the right word, but like feeling solid in our 5, and underestimating the idea that people would really just, again, for lack of a better word, just be bored and want to play the game.
And who were you trying to get out that night? Or who did you think it was going to be?
I was under the impression we were going to vote for Oe. Because she was the best competitor on their team. Yeah. She was clearly doing well in the challenges. She was, she's a phys ed teacher. I mean, all of those reasons seem like the logical choice. And that's what Rachel and Jordan and I did. Yeah. But other people didn't want to.
You're the only person I actually wrote down a quote that you said at that Crossroads that night, because I felt like it was the most telling quote. And I was like, I need to remember to talk about this with him, like whenever you would get out. And I just remember you, because again, watching this as a spectator, I have a little bit of insight because I'm a mod, so I kind of know what's going to happen. But to me as a spectator, it felt like I saw you and Rachel almost at the same time at that Crossroad kind of just do this like, uh-oh, oh no. And you said the minority seems real comfortable. Mm-hmm. I know what you mean, but like, can you explain for anyone who's watching, like what about the demeanor? Because that's telling, because again, there was 4 on the bottom that easily should have been picked off. And so the fact that these 4 are just like, oh, okay, let's get this Crossroads out. So like, what were you thinking at that moment? And did you then start to think it was going to be you? Or did you think it was going to be Rachel when she started to kind of explode?
Well, I think it stems back to Brandon, right? Think about Brandon. And even when we were watching their Crossroads the previous time, right? We had won that advantage and we were watching their Crossroads. I think when you combine the way that they acted, whether it was Jake or Oe or even Jess, And then we experienced Brandon and how he knew he was on his last legs and he did everything he can. Shout out to Brandon. But then when we got into that crossroads, I just kind of scanned the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew, I said, something's not right here, because Owie had just like this look of confidence, and I feel like Jake doesn't pass at an opportunity to open his mouth, and I just knew. I said, yep, this is it. I said, this was my thought in the back of my mind, was either, like I said at the beginning, like either I'm going to go all the way to the end because I'm going to build relationships with people and people are going to trust me, and it's going to work like that, or they're going to see me as the threat, challenges, the villain at family game night type thing, and it's going to get to a point where they just form a militia and come at me. And I thought that it was going to be me. I didn't think it was Rachel at all. Because Rachel, I mean, I love Rachel, but Rachel didn't do as well in the challenges as I did. And back at the original camp, I don't know how much Rachel was scheming when I wasn't there, but I think maybe I was arrogant or not to say this now, but like I thought I was kind of had a say in what was going to happen with that alliance and our group, even when it went over to Team Rob. And then that night, I think Rachel and I were just on one-on-one a little too long. I think she was looking for, even maybe a clue, because I totally missed the clue.
Oh, that's right.
And there was a lot of jumping around, and that was kind of the opportunity. When I saw that, it probably caught up with it in that moment, and kind of just, then once we got in there, I don't know, it just didn't pass the smell test, man. It just,
Because then
I knew.
Yeah, because
I knew. I've been in too many game nights. I've been in too many, opportunities where I know my friends would want to kick my ass or like throw me out of the game because they're just sick of me at some point and they just wish I would lose or something.
Yeah.
I've experienced that enough, and it was.
No, I think
that was. Go ahead.
I think you nailed it on the head. I mean, I think that many in your party were just looking to spice it up, and we're looking, because here's the thing: is like, you were a target. I mean, you were seen as like a leader. You were helping call the shots, and so those are all things that, again, make it easy to go, let's take out that person because we can do it now while we have new numbers.
Yep.
So Rachel ends up going home that night. She gets 5 votes, you get 4 votes, and then Owie gets 3. So this night, then going into Friday the 13th, just because I'm just now looking at what day it was. What are you thinking? Like, I'm dead on arrival? Are you like, I need to work with the original Team Rob to try to do something new? Like, what was just your strategy? Because obviously you knew you're on the bottom ish, so were you kind of like, what was your strategy going into this final day?
Well, that's kind of where I drew on my, again, limited, albeit passionate survivor watching, that the people on the bottom, when you're on the bottom, you got to go to the other people and start asking questions.
Yeah.
And you got to see if there's a crack. And then you got to really think about what you kind of got to work out what the scenarios are that are your best plays and play the odds. Right. So in that night, as much as I wanted to get rid of Kimmy, and I had kind of called her out at the night before, and, I thought that I could maybe get her. I knew that she was too much, in the ear probably of the other people, because again, she told me straight out that I want to play. And like, clearly that connected with those people. And then I thought to myself, okay, who is the biggest threat in the game then? And I thought, and I would say it every time, Kwa was the biggest threat. He was the biggest threat, 100%, because He knows more than everybody. And I said this on my way out. Like he knows Survivor better than anybody, probably better than people who work at the show. I guarantee you he knows more. I would not be surprised if Qua had some database, like if he's the guy on Wikipedia creating those pages with the colors and who got out. Like I just know that's how his brain works.
Yeah.
He is an engineer through and through. He is a flow chart of everything. I'm sure he had it all worked out. And I knew from the beginning also too, like he was a threat because I knew he had the advantage when we were back as Team Tyson. I knew it because every time he would speak, and this is where his lack of social skills gives it away. Like he'd be like, I think blah, 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 whatever it was. It's like, Quad, stop. You don't think anything. You don't make mistakes. You don't, I think it was this tribe. Like, shut up. You know exactly what the name of the tribe was. You know exactly who got out, what the challenge was. You probably have some marble notebook, like I said, whatever. But I also knew that he was the best with Discord, right? He's a computer kid. He uses Discord. So when, he plays the trivia with Robin Tyson, like, to me, those were all red flags. And even though Docs was my initial target, I talked to Rachel about it, that we should throw all the attention on Docs, but then in the last second, we should throw it on Qua because he has the advantage. And I sold her and she was like, whoa, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, I know how that type of kid works. But for me, that was my strategy ultimately, to swing for the fence and say, listen, Sam, listen, OE, go talk to the other two, and Qua is the target. And I am willing to be on the other side of things because Qua is going to win this game. Otherwise, he's too smart. He knows too much. And he's smarter than all of you. And he's better at Survivor because he studied it more than you. And they just, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and so why do you think that didn't work? Because, you do have the OG team, Rob, that yes, they were saved with the Rachel vote, but I mean, why do you think that they chose not to go along with that plan? I mean, do you think that they just were so excited that it wasn't one of them? Or do you feel like you didn't have enough time to really make a pitch? Or because you're a strong player too. So, I can make a case for why they would want to get you out, but but they were also still on the bottom. So I can see wanting to grab you and actually then kind of flip on people. So, I mean, do you have any thoughts as to why they didn't?
I think they didn't because that's really, now you're really making a move, right? It's easy to say, oh, we're going to vote out this guy. Oh, we can vote with you? Great. Oh, we made a move. Like, no, you didn't. You didn't make a move. Like, you really want to make a move? Even though you're in the minority and you're outnumbered, grab the one guy that's truly a free agent and flip the whole game.
Yeah.
But I tried to sell that to Sam and he was just like, yeah, man. Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to him. I'll put out some feelers. And it's like, at that point I knew I was pretty much drawing dead into the deck, Ultimately, it's kind of, and the reason they didn't do it also, aside from, I think it's just a hesitation to really make a big move in the game. I think it's a hesitation to, they don't play it all out, right? There's many things to play out in that scenario. And in my head, I was like, okay, I'm alone because Rachel is my biggest ally. So why not go with these people and I'll just start over and I'll just build relationships with them. That's what I'm good at. So let's do that. But it wasn't enough time. And I think they also eliminated me for the same reason that, like, and again, maybe this will come off the wrong way, but like, who was the guy in season 3? He was the bigger guy. He was kind of the athletic guy.
I'm totally blanking.
Cyrus? Maybe Cyrus?
That sounds familiar, yeah.
Some guy like that. Or why did the guy in Boston Rob's first season?
Yeah.
Maybe it was Hunter, I think his name was. Yeah. Whatever. Ultimately, like, there's you know, there's a certain type of guy that I probably fit into their mold, as far as like challenge, credibility, and gameplay or whatever, that, you know, they thought to themselves like, yeah, let's take this out, let's get him out and let's live the fight another day, and just trying to self-preservation. And I can't blame them for that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes there's just the easy vote, I guess. And that's one of the lessons I learned, is that, you know, why did we vote Brandon out? Well, it was just easier. There was no reason to, I mean, yes, there was only one of him and 6 of us. So that made it even more difficult to, why would I flip that and
Yeah.
cause of destruction there? But when you got 4 people over there and you can get rid of somebody like me or Rachel, but still keep the numbers advantage, you know, that's, it just seemed like the simplest play. And the people in the minority ultimately, I think, felt that they were going to lose anyway.
Yeah.
So why not stay around for another day? And this was the easiest vote. And they were right.
Got it. So we're heading into the final 2 questions, because I know that we have a live crossroads at 10. But so in terms of, you went out and you went out loud-ish, you were using your whiteboard. So just what was your strategy with that? Like, what were you trying to get across as you were leaving?
Well, it was 2 things. Number one, it was, again, my last effort to try and put attention on Kimmy and Alex, but really vote for Kwa, and hoping that Sam and Oe and the rest of them would vote with me, as well as Jordan, but they didn't. And then the other reason I did that is just because that's just me. Like, it's not, everything is an opportunity, right? And it's so, you know, it's funny because Oe always thought like, Oe was so worried about entertainment, right? And I, you know, the day that Rachel was voted out, I'm so happy in hindsight that I said to her, like, who cares about entertainment? Like, she's like, that's not entertaining, because she knew I was pushing back on her scheme to stay in the game. And I was like, who cares about entertainment? You know, like, whatever, like, that was her big concern. And so, you know, you want entertainment, I'm capable of entertainment, unlike Oe, who, you know, when she goes out is just like, well, thanks guys, we had a good time. All right, you know, have a good one. You know, like, that's fine. But that's everybody. And that's just not me.
No.
Right. So when I do it, I say to myself, like, all right, how can I overdo this and then totally overdo this without being, what was the word you used?
That I used?
Something ish. Yeah,
Oh.
you said you were loud-ish.
Loud-ish, yeah.
Yeah, right. To me, that was kind of where I found it, and that's just my, you know, that's just my sense of humor. That's just kind of me to put the glasses on and make it a, you know, this whole like inquisitive thing, like, oh, let's take a look at this, you know, and like have some fun with it.
Memorable.
You know, thanks. Well, in the end, I was hoping to, you know, if there's an all-star season, I want to be invited back. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Totally.
I want to be punching my ticket back to the island here. You know.
So yeah. So as we wrap up here, and we have just like 5 minutes. So who of the game that's remaining, who are you rooting for? And then secondly, who do you think will win? So it could be the same person or it can be different people.
I'm rooting for Jordan.
Okay.
He's the only person I'm rooting for. And it's a couple parts. It's one part bitterness, right? I think that I want him to win because I think he's played the most different game. But I also want him to win because I think he's the closest person of any actually, I'm sorry. He's the furthest in real life to actually living and breathing Survivor.
Yeah.
You know, he has to go get water, right? He has an outhouse. He is living in Alaska and shoveling snow while on the same day that I took a walk on the beach.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So to me, Jordan embodies, you know, he's living in Survivor-ish. Now he might have a beautiful home and he's got those acres and it might be easy peasy. I don't know. But to me, it seems like he lives the most survivor. Plus he's got kids and like his values are in the right place. You know, he's not some punk college kid. He's probably doing it as a ex-military guy, as also to be a great father and an example for his kids. And I think I don't know, he just seems like a cool dude and I'm rooting for him. And, you know, I hope he takes it home. Will he? Well, I don't know. It's hard to say because I think it's very easy to argue that people will want to take him to the end. I wanted to. I said it to Rachel. I said, you know who I said it to Rachel. I said it to Kimmy. Kimmy couldn't figure it out. Right. I said there was and you can go back in the tapes. There was one-on-one with Kimmy and I was like, okay, we're going to work together. So who's the other person that we want to keep around? And she was, you know, and she didn't figure it out. So I didn't tell her because I didn't want to blow that cover. I thought, okay, she doesn't have that figured out. I'm not going to give her that hint. But then I told Rachel too, because I thought if it was me, Rachel, and Jordan, it'll be kind of my best shot at a final three that I could win. But we'll see. We'll see if people can figure that out. Ultimately, out of people remaining, I'd say the best shot probably is, oh man. See, I want them all to lose except for Jordan. So, yeah, I honestly don't care.
Well, a good so.
Yeah, I'd say probably if Kimmy gets there, I think people will probably vote for her because she won a bunch of challenges.
Yeah.
But I don't think she'll probably get there. And if not, it might be Docs. You know, maybe that guy, maybe that would probably make sense. That would probably be a correct narrative. The guy who would have otherwise probably been out first. If we would have lost on day one, Quad wouldn't have found the advantage yet. And I would have targeted him so hard that we would have all went on board and got his ass out.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I just hope it's him. I really don't want Jake to win. He's embarrassing. I'm sorry. I really don't want him to win. I really don't want Alex to win. Anybody that owns an avocado, whatever that was, is just a loser. Sorry, but just not my thing. The fact that they all did that kind of sparked my whole loudishness too.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, good job, guys. Like, because I told Quad to put his hood on to tell me that Jake was the one, and then they kind of did that in solitude against me. But who didn't do that? Jordan. Jordan didn't. Neither did Sam. And Taryn held up a Yoda. So I don't know. Taryn's got a good heart. If she was in it with like Alex and Kimmy, I would vote for Taryn.
Okay.
So I hope I answered your question there.
You did. Tom, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for explaining everything. I hope you had a good time. I know that this is a hard game, but you get to now be part of the jury. You get to now be one of the voices to, fight for somebody to win that $1,000. So with that being said, we still have a lot of game left. We're about to tune into a live crossroads in just a minute, but again, I really appreciate your time. And for everyone that's watching at home, we'll see you next time and see who gets voted out tonight, because I don't know. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks for your time.
Of course.